work. And I think you folks are really going to enjoy getting to know Van Jones. And so without further ado, Van, I'd like to have you come up and welcome as well.
Well, good afternoon. First of all, I think we owe a much, much bigger round of applause to Brother Kevin Gay. I think you gotta. I have remarks, but I want to just take a moment to brag on you, brother. You know, part of the challenge that we're having right now in politics and part of the breakthrough we're having right now, hopefully, is where we're getting past it. It's very, very difficult to get past this. I don't call it partisanship. I call it tribalism. I mean, it's literally just shirts and skins. You know, if you're with me or you're against me, and if I don't agree with you on everything, I can't agree with you on anything. And one of the few people I know in American life who's been able to work with and to get praise from and recognition from 3 presidents in a row. When you get a Bill Clinton on the same page with a George W. Bush, on the same page with a Barack Obama, all praising one guy, that guy is called a miracle worker, and that is Kevin Gay. So give him another round of applause. He's leading the way. He's leading the way. You know, we can have different politics of the head and yet have the same politics of the heart. And that's really what I think Kevin represents. He's somebody who has a politics of the heart, and he's been able to translate from a business point of view as a former business guy to get hundreds of employers to do something we have a hard time getting any employers to do, which is to give a real second chance and sometimes a real first chance to folks. We just stop wasting so much genius. And when you have a breakthrough success story like what Kevin represents, and you have the quality of leadership like what Kevin represents, it gives the people in places that are much more dysfunctional, like, I don't know, Washington, D.C., real hope and opportunity. And that's really why we're here. We did have this incredible moment in Washington, D.C. To your point, I grew up in rural West Tennessee. I grew up on the edge of a small town. My dad was born in abject poverty and segregation in Orange Mound, Memphis. Anybody know about Orange Mound? Oh, here we go. My dad from the mound. So you know what he went through. So my father, to get out of the mound, joined the military. Everybody else was running out of the military at that time. He ran in so he could get out, put himself through college. Then he married the college president's daughter, my mama, because he just had it like that. Then he put his little brother through college. And he put his cousin through college. And he put me through college. And he put my sister through college. And my father was very, very clear that he had total disdain for liberals and conservatives. My father was very, very clear. He said, first of all, I was a poor kid. You can't give a poor kid anything that will stop them from being poor. You can give them money, stop them from being broke. But they're still poor in their heart, poor in their skills, poor in their mind, poor in their self-esteem. They'll be broke again tomorrow. He said every poor kid's got to climb that ladder out of poverty on their own efforts. So when they get out, they can stay out. So that's where the liberals are wrong. You gotta have that internal drive. He said, but the conservatives are wrong too. It is true that every poor kid has to climb that ladder out of poverty. That's that kid's responsibility. But grown people have a responsibility too, to make sure that every kid has a ladder to climb, you see. And it's that common sense that I grew up with, that individual effort combined with a community willing to give people the opportunity to prove themselves and to make a mistake and to prove themselves again, that has been completely absent from our discussion about criminal justice for too long. And so I met a young woman named Jessica Jackson, who's here. I had done criminal justice work for a while. I began doing more environmental stuff. She had had her family ripped apart by a single nonviolent drug charge. First time. Her husband torn away from her with a baby on her hip for 6 years. And she decided to go to college, go to law school, do something about it. And she just shamed me into getting involved. I mean, it was just embarrassing. Talking to somebody who's living this. We can talk about it, Mayor. But when you're living it, it's a different level of passion. And at that time, I had a job at CNN, still do. I had a show I was doing with a guy named Newt Gingrich. And Newt actually also met Jessica. And we got to talking, Newt and I. It just shows leadership. You're all leaders in here. So Newt and I started talking about this issue. And we realized that now, Newt Gingrich and I don't agree on anything. We disagree so much, they built a whole show off the fact that we don't agree on anything. The name of our show was Crossfire. That lets you know how much we agree. But on this issue, we agree. And Newt said something to me that just shocked me. He said, as a conservative, Van, I can't agree with what's going on either. He said, as a conservative, I am now seeing a big, unaccountable government bureaucracy in the criminal justice system that is not giving good results, that gets bigger and bigger every year, gobbles up more money every year, but is still not performing adequately. And in fact, in some ways, the worse job it does, the more money it gets. You have 10 people in on Monday, you send them home, they come back on Friday with their best friends. The warden doesn't get fired, you double the budget. He said that is a big fail. He's a conservative. I can't support a big failed government bureaucracy gobbling up more money doing a terrible job. He said, as a conservative who cares about individual liberties, I cannot countenance having prosecutors and other big government forces with so much power over that individual. If that individual can't afford the greatest lawyer, they may have to plead guilty when they're innocent. He said, as a conservative, I can't, as a Christian, I can't deal with a system where apparently every soul doesn't matter and we no longer believe in redemption. So that violates my faith as a conservative Christian. And I said, well, Newt, where you been all my life, you know? I said, we need to have this conversation in public. And so Jessica and Matt Haney and Shaka Senghor, other people who are here, Alex, who's here, Newt's team, we got together. We said, hold on a second. If we could just get 100 leaders in Washington, D.C., both sides of the aisle together for 1 hour, 100 leaders for 1 hour, we could make history. Well, we didn't get 100 leaders. We got 700 for 7 hours. For 7 hours. Including 10 Congress people, some of whom do not know what 3 minutes means, and don't know what flashing red lights mean, and don't know what this means. But they were passionate, right? So we had 10 Congress people, we had 3 governors, we had 2 cabinet secretaries, and President Obama sent a video. And the thing about it, that's all impressive, but that's not the most, that's 2% of what was impressive. What was impressive, if you sat there and closed your eyes, you could not tell the Democrats from the Republicans. You had a level of heartbreak and concern and insight. You literally could not tell the Democrats from the Republicans. Why? And that's why I want to end with that, because that's why you're here now. What became obvious was that the core principles of both political parties are being violated now by this level of incarceration. The core, we are a liberty and justice for all country. If we're not that, we should stop telling our third graders to say it every morning. If we're anything, we're a liberty and justice for all country. Well, the Republicans, at their best, stand for that liberty, that individual rights matter, that limited government is important, and the ideas of limited government, individual liberty and rights are being completely run over by mass incarceration. Democrats, at our best, we stand for justice, that no little group, because they're too weak or too small or too disfavored, should be mistreated before society or in the eyes of the law. And that principle of justice is being run over right now by this level of incarceration. And so you have both proud parties standing there with our core principles being violated, and we were able to come together. And out of that summit, 3 bipartisan bills came. We now have got a major bipartisan bill through the first committee hoops in the U.S. Senate. The President of the United States has come out and said he'll sign any bill we get to him, and we have something moving forward. And the one stumbling block that we have now, if they say, you guys win. Now they say you guys, they mean Democrats and Republicans. I haven't had that experience in 15 years of politics. If you guys win, you Cory Booker, you Grassley, never seen that before, you Newt Gingrich, you Van Jones, you ACLU, you Koch Industries, if you guys win this bipartisan kumbaya coalition, and all these people come home, what's going to happen to them? And what's going to happen to us? Some is concerned for the individual coming home. Will they be received properly? Some is concerned for the community. Will the community wind up having a regret? All other barriers have been removed, at least preliminarily. The partisanship, the tribalism, the fear-mongering, the Willie Hortonism, all these things. You have the President of the United States go to a prison, sit down with folks behind bars, and come out and was not criticized by anybody. That lets you know the tribalism on this issue has died way down. The only question is not whether we should be doing this, but can we do it effectively and safely? And you are the experts. We have in this room some of the best minds, some of the best programs, some of the best examples, and the wisdom that exists in this room is going to be lifted up over the course of the next several hours is the critical wisdom now. So I want to say we come to you from Washington, D.C., really hat in hand, humbled by the fact that, folks, when there was no support, when this was not a popular issue, when you didn't have the president speaking about it, when you didn't have Republicans and Democrats holding hands on it, when you were out there by yourself, barely able to get a grant, and really hardly able to get a re-grant, that second grant, harder than the first one. When you were out there by yourselves, creating hope and opportunity and pathways, you're the leaders of this thing. And the leaders are here. And we'll be setting up chairs and washing dishes, whatever you need us to do. But we are going to steal everything that you say and bring it to Washington, D.C., and hopefully have a national victory to build on your success. Thank you very much.